ICDFS. Yeah. Everybody, Eyecee here with another video. This one's my week 4 Thursday night football showdown between the Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles. So a lot to go over here, so I'm going to get right into it. Starting with my favorite captain plays this week. I like Davante Adams from the Packers. Great matchup here. Last week the Broncos made it their mission to stop him, and they somewhat succeeded. The Eagles are missing some defenders and are trash versus wide receivers, so all hopes of that happening again this week are thrown in the gutter. Aaron Rodgers noted himself last week that 4 targets to Adams was too low, and I expect that the targets are closer to the first 2 weeks this time around. He's had a pretty tough matchup the first 3 weeks. He's been up against the Bears, the Vikings, and the Broncos. The Eagles are not that good defensively, so I expect him to have a breakout game for the season. And him and Aaron Rodgers both are 2 of my favorite captain picks tomorrow. I'm expecting both of them to have stellar games. So that moves me to Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to be correlating the 2 of these guys, Davante Adams, Aaron Rodgers, as well as MVS. But Aaron Rodgers, I expect him to have a good game tomorrow. I know the Packers try to limit Rodgers' passing, throwing, but with what he said about Davante Adams and how they need to get him involved, I expect Aaron Rodgers to throw the ball a lot more. Not a lot more, but more often. More than usual to Davante Adams, and I'm expecting Davante Adams to have a standout game. So Aaron Rodgers will play a big role in that. So either or can be captains for me. I like Rodgers' opportunity against the Eagles defense here. He's had to go up against the Bears, Vikings, and Broncos, and the Eagles are a much easier matchup for everybody on this offense. So I'm expecting Rodgers to really shine and show why he's a truly elite quarterback in the league. But after Rodgers, I like Aaron Jones, the running back. He has to be in consideration. He had a shoulder injury, but he looks to be good. But keep an eye on that just in case. He has been splitting slaps with Jamal Williams, but that's probably because he's been a little injured. But I like Aaron Jones in case that they do decide to limit Rodgers' throwing and I don't get that scenario right. Then they'll probably go to running the ball, and Aaron Jones will be the biggest benefactor of that. So because of that, I like Aaron Jones as a captain viable player. After him, I like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, MVS. Same as Jones, or same as Davante Adams. MVS is in a great spot in matchup versus the injured Eagles defense. He was targeted 10 times in week 3 due to the Broncos heavily guarding Davante Adams, but I don't expect that this week with the Eagles defense. So I expect Davante Adams to perform better than Marquez, but I'll definitely be having Marquez in some captain spots because wide receiver and up against shitty Philly defense, and wide receiver running back more often than not are the winning captain. So Marquez Valdez definitely captain viable pick for me. And the last captain viable pick for me from the Packers side is Jamal Williams. If they limit Aaron Rodgers, they'll go with the running game, and either Aaron Jones or Jamal Williams should be the main guys there. Probably Aaron Jones, but if he doesn't get the job done, then Jamal Williams will have to. So I'm definitely going to have him in some captain spots. But those are the 5 guys I like as captains from the Packers side. From the Eagles side, Carson Wentz. He can put up bigger numbers than Aaron Rodgers. He rushes, he passes. If you think an Eagles pull an upset here and you go with that scenario, then Carson Wentz will be 100% of the reason why. So definitely captain viable for me. Zach Ertz, another person, captain viable, just not as much as him, especially with Alshon Jeffrey coming back. And Green Bay has good defense against tight ends, but no tight end they played was on Zach Ertz's level so far. Not quite. So Zach Ertz is definitely going to present a new type of challenge for them. They probably will be able to handle it, but in the odd case they don't, I will have some Zach Ertz in my captain spots. Alshon Jeffrey should be returning, but might not be 100%. Have to consider him as a captain as he's the top pass option. So if he plays, he's probably my favorite captain on the Eagles side, and teaming him with Carson Wentz and another receiver or even Ertz would be a good option here. Again, your scenario matters, so make a couple scenarios and make lineups based on the scenarios. Deshaun Jackson's still injured. Aguilar, same shit. If Alshon Jeffrey is not 100%, they're gonna go back to Aguilar. He actually caught the ball last week and didn't burn everybody, so his ownership should be high. Maybe a little lower with Alshon Jeffrey returning, but still high nonetheless. And he might burn people, but might come through again. So consideration definitely. And Miles Sanders or Jordan Howard would be my last captains on the Eagles side, 5th and 6th respectively. Miles Sanders has seen double-digit targets every week so far. He's a viable captain, a sneaky and cheap pick. And same with Jordan Howard. Even though Sanders has seen more touches, Howard has seen touches as well, targets, and should definitely be in consideration in case, knowing that the Green Bay Packers defense is very good, and if they shut down Sanders, then Howard would be the guy that gets the ticket upside there. So that's it for the captain spots. I'll move on to the flex spots. All the captains I mentioned are flex viable, so don't get it twisted. But these are the flex only picks I like, no captain. So starting with the Packers defense. I like the Packers defense. I don't like them as much as the Bears defense or the matchup for that regard. Carson Wentz is not a shitty quarterback. I don't see him getting sacked or intercepted as much. And for that reason, I don't see the Packers defense as a viable captain, but I do see them as a very viable flex spot. So Packers defense, flex spot. After that, Jimmy Graham, keep an eye on the news if he's playing. I like him. I like him a little, not much, but I like him. But if he's out, I like Mercedes Lewis or Robert Tonyan. Both of them are cheap, and I especially like Tonyan. He has very high upside, very, very cheap, and saw 3 targets last week. But Lewis has also been Lewis has been good and shown that he can really he's ready. So I could see either or stepping up to the plate in case Graham's missing tomorrow. And then as well as Danny Vitale. He's seen 19 snaps in week 3. He's a bit part player, so roll the dice with Graham's out. Showdown, you got to make these type of moves if you're trying to take it down. If you're just trying to cash and play it safe, then don't consider those guys I mentioned. But if you're trying to come in first, which I know most of us are, you got to consider guys like these. So yeah, aside from that, the only guy left to mention is Geronimo Allison, a wide receiver. Philly sucks against wide receivers, so who knows? He might be a benefactor of that. Might actually catch a ball, touchdown, and that would really set you apart. I don't really think of him being more owned than like 6% tomorrow. He is a cheap option, so he's definitely in consideration. And Mason Crosby, the kicker. I will have some shares of him. I usually love kickers, but not as much tomorrow, so I'm not going to have as much as I usually do, but I definitely will have him in my consideration, and he will be in my lineups, just not as much as I usually would. So that's it for the Bears side. Jake Kumaro, you've made it to my you've made it this far, bro. I don't know how he's still here, but yeah, I wouldn't really consider him. He's a wide receiver though, so if you like gambling and rolling the dice, then by all means have him somewhere, but not as much, like very, very little. Him, I would not even like think about it, to be honest with you. The rest of these guys I'd have a little bit, just for the sake of it, if I'm trying to come in first. I enter 120 lineups, so for me it's kind of easy to at least have 1 or 2 lineups with these guys each, but not much. On the Eagles side, flex plays. Jake Elliott kicker, same as before. Not really high on kickers this week, but I will have them as one of my top flex plays. I like Jake Elliott more than I like Mason Crosby. I feel like the Packers will actually get the job done, whereas the Eagles will fall just a little bit short because of the defense, and they'll be in kicking positions more often than the Packers. So Jake Elliott will be that guy. Other than that, Eagles defense, for me it's a no, but depending on your scenario, if you feel like the Packers are gonna flop, then the Eagles defense is gonna be the reason why, and you should pick them. Hell, even as a captain, if you want to go that far, if you think it's gonna be that bad, if they're gonna surprise the world, and and I highly doubt it, but for at least I do. But that's my opinion. You can have your own scenario. But yeah, scenario dependent Eagles defense. Darren Sproles, he's seeing a lot of snaps, but he's 36 years old, and the Packers defense is really good. He's a third option running back, so I won't have a lot of him, but I will have him in low consideration. If he makes a play or two, he will hit value and set you apart from everybody else in Showdown slate. It's not going to be very high owned, so have a little bit of him. Mac Hollins, I'm not going to have much of him, but he will be in consideration. Alshon Jeffrey is returning, but he's still going to be on the field for snaps. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, rookie second round pick. Limited exposure to this guy. Okay. Same with Dallas Goedert, limited exposure. And Corey Clements, roll the dice if you want to. I just mentioned him. Keep an eye on him. He might be back. He might get some run. Probably like 1% owned. And if he does anything, he'll set you apart. Any 0.3 Draftkings points matters in Showdown slate, so any of these things can matter. It just depends how many lineups you make, what your style of lineups are, your scenarios, and all that. But yeah, these guys at the bottom would be very low owned for me, like very limited, if any. I might not end up with any, but I just thought I'd mention them. And same with Kumaro. You know what, Kumaro, bro, goodbye. Felicia, nice knowing you, bro. But yeah, the rest of these guys, I'd have some. These three, I'd have a little bit of exposure, especially if Jimmy Graham's out. So there you have it, guys. Those are my picks for the Showdown slate between the Packers and the Eagles. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you like my video. Let me know what I can do better. I'm still getting used to recording videos and making content like this. I usually just did it on my own, but I thought I'd start sharing it because I was successful. I was right with the Bears and the quarterbacks. I had a good feeling about that, and they were the winning lineup. Trubisky was the winning lineup captain, but the Bears was second. But if we really want to be honest with ourselves, Taylor Gabriel was the true winning captain. He scored the most points as a captain. It's just 1.6 or 5 or some shit percent of the people actually played him as captain. And yeah, I wasn't one of them. I had a lot of Taylor Gabriel, just not as a captain. And I only had him because I knew how bad the Redskins were versus wide receivers. So I figured some wide receiver was going to pop off. So I had a lot of the wide receivers. I just didn't have him as a captain. But hey, you live and you learn. That's why some of my captain picks today are there. They're a little cheaper, but that helps you save money. And don't be shy to leave a couple thousand salary left over. It could always work in your favor. It's Showdown. There's 6 players you gotta pick and 6 combinations of points. There can be many combinations, and sometimes, even though there's hundreds and thousands of players, you might not hit the right optimal lineup. No one will, as was the case on Monday. No one got the optimal lineup, at least in the main slates. So someone out there could have done way better than first place. So there's optimism there, hope for everybody. Yeah, the pros have a lot of spreadsheets and optimizers and all that, but even they don't get the top lineup all the time. So it's do your research, make smart moves, make smart plays, think of scenarios, think outside the box, and you'll be successful. That's it for this Showdown slate. My name's Eyecee DFS. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and best of luck, everybody. Take care. Bye bye.